What's up, writers? I hope you're all doing well. Today, we are going to be starting a series of writing a book. My name is Aaron Allegory. I have currently written 3 books thus far, and I am going to just document my process of getting better at my craft and the thing that I love to do. My hope is that you will learn from my experience, my journey, and you will be able to integrate some of the things that I talk about into your own writing so that you can become a better author. So, today we are going to be working on one of the manuscripts that I have in the works. All my writers know that we typically have a few, a few manuscripts in the works. This is probably one of, I think, 4 that I have. Um, ah, I'm doing this live, and I had to take a little sip of water. But this is one that I started a few months ago, and it's honestly, I think, one of the most fun books that I've started to write. Typically, I am what is known as a architect writer. And architect writers, what we will do is we will typically do outlines, and we will outline a great deal before we write. And this time I am doing the discovery writing, and that is typically something that where you let the story come to you and you just feel the story out and it just comes to you as you're writing. You don't really have a plan, you just listen to your intuition, you listen to that creative spirit. Now, this one is called Dante's Anointing. Ooh, ooh, let's not move that around. This one is called Dante's Anointing, and this is about essentially God getting tired of humanity, and he gives this person, not Dante, Dayton, my bad. He gives this character that I created, Dayton, these powers, and he can either save the world or condemn it. It's a bit of spiritual fiction, so to say. Um, it should be interesting. I want to teach a spiritual lesson throughout this book about just choice, story, um, control, things of that nature, both from the influential side, from the outside, and from the internal side, like the lesson of controlling your emotions. Hence why I have in here, I like to put little quotes in my books before they actually get started. And that's why I have destiny. And it says, free will exists in a buffer zone. Sometimes we have more, sometimes we have less. Now, like I said, I've been working on this for some time. So I already have a few chapters written. I like to keep my books short. I like to keep them sweet-ish. Some of them are dark, um, but all of them I try to teach a lesson. Hence my pen name, Aaron Allegory. And so far, I do believe I've spaced out 4 chapters. So what I'll do is I'll actually write, and then I'll go back and I will space out everything. And if you can see this isn't perfect, right? Like Grammarly is telling me that I should put some things in here. But I come from a spoken word poetry background, so I'm not super meticulous about the grammar up front. And because I've already written 3 books, I know that the most important thing is just to get the rough draft done. And I will always go back and I will edit afterwards. I typically like to edit as I go, so this is a little bit edited, but it's definitely not the final cut. So if you're writing, do not harp on everything being perfect the first time around because it's just not going to be. It's a lot better to have things done. A lot. It's a lot better to be like my author friends. We like to say that it is better to be published than perfect. Right? No matter what book you're writing, there's always going to be mistakes. Like every book has a typo in it somewhere. So don't stress out about getting everything perfect. Since, as I said, I already have a few chapters, and I'm already on chapter 4. What I will do today, since we are just starting out and getting to know each other and you're getting to know me, I will read what I have so far. And then in the comments section, I'd really appreciate it if you guys were to Let me know what you're thinking, some feelings that came to mind. If you think of any characters that might be good to add into the story, please leave them in the comments down below. I would love to read what you guys have to think and share because, like I said, the story's still coming to me. I haven't outlined anything at all. After this, we will go back over a book that is outlined because I have, like I said, several manuscripts in the works. But let's just get into the story thus far. This way I can catch you guys up, and then next episode, we can start to actually write together. Um, so, chapter one starts with: It was a dark, ominous night when thunder cracked the sky. It is time to test the mortals, said the king. Their petulance disgusts me. Perhaps I should start over. Lumiton was a cruel world, filled with crime, corruption, and chaos. Survival of the fittest, the law of its land, with every tribe at war with one another. Three great factions had risen to the top: the Slygons, merchants known for their slick speech; the Bronsons, a warrior race obsessed with combat; most notorious of all, the Vam Leeches, a nocturnal breed with the ability to convert anyone they lay their fangs into. This one's heart seems pure enough. Let's have some fun. The king was benevolent, but not to be trifled with. If this young monk failed to meet his expectations, that would be it. The planet would be done for, eliminated, leaving nothing but absence in its place. Drayton was from a small town, a young man no more than 15 years old. Ah, yes, he's perfect. A teenage boy from the outskirts of the Western Province, one who hasn't been tainted by the dominant faction's oppression. I will bless him with a divine grace. The Western Province was Bronson territory. By my glory, I give thee the ability to tame the elements. The king parted the night atmosphere with one finger. You, my child, shall change this world or condemn it. The choice is yours. Should your siblings shatter your soul, you shall be their apocalypse. With the same finger used to remove the clouds from view, the king blasted a beam from heaven directly into Drayton's heart. Let the game begin. Now, as you can see, like I said, I come from a spoken word poetry background. So I write in a poetic fashion. I tried to give it some cadence, give it some literary devices. I like to use the literary devices as much as I can. Um, I also, if you may have noticed, I am on the Pages app of a Mac device, an Apple Mac device. So this is my preferred software of choice. You can write yours in anything like Word works. So does Google Docs. If you guys want, I can show you how to format in Google Docs because it's honestly not that hard once you get used to it. We are we're working on a template that I've already made, so this already has the margins lined up how I want it. So that is a plus of finishing your books, is that you can actually just make copies of your books and then remove the words and all the formatting is pretty much done. So I already know the spacing and everything will be okay once I do this. And it'll be fun. We're gonna add pictures to this and everything. So I'm excited for this journey. But let's get into chapter 2 after I take another sip of water. Hopefully that did not sound gross for you guys and gals and whatever you identify as. Um, but chapter 2 starts with: What was that just now? My chest feels weird. Drayton clenched the area protecting his heart with his fingertips of his left hand. Thump, thump. Ah, it's like acid is being pumped through my entire body. Drayton's limbs gave way as he collapsed to the floor of his cottage bedroom. What's happening to me? I can't control anything. The pain began to swell up in his core, forcing his spine to arch as if he were being exercised. His elbows dug into the wooden panels, his heels followed suit. What had started as a usual Friday afternoon had become a nightmare. Little did he know it would be double as a dream. Little did he know it. Little did he know it would double as a dream. See, live editing. Live editing. Little did he know it would double as a dream. The following morning, his powers began to manifest. His first test had begun. Will he commit or will he run? Both choices begin with death. Honestly, I could make this a whole nother chapter break, hence why I put the little break here, but I think that's a little bit too short for a chapter, but we shall see what happens in the final cut. Let's continue. LaShawn came running to Dayton's family cottage. Drayton, we're going to be late for class. Master Wiggins is going to be mad at us again. Drayton emerged from his humble abode a few moments later. Sorry, LaShawn. Last night was kind of long. Sorry, LaShawn. Last night was kind of long, and I didn't get much sleep. LaShawn was doing his best to minimize his experience. Last night was hell, and he hadn't slept a second. Not to mention the scars he had accumulated. His bones had broken and healed several times over. Bro, did you hit a growth spurt? You're like half a foot taller. A look that told 1,000 words appeared across Drayton's face. LaShawn couldn't picture it, but he knew something was up. Sadly, there was no time. They were due at the temple by 9 a.m. We'll change this to were, because that's what I meant to say. And this should be Drayton. Editing. I find that with discovery writing, it's best to edit as you go. And as I told you before, this manuscript is not perfect. So we will continue with chapter 3 and the final chapter of this episode, and the longest one of this episode. As they traversed through their village, some notorious Cretans came their way. What do you say, boys? Messing with these punks looks like fun. Clement, Dustin, and Jorfan of the Luton gang. They were a group of local thugs, bull-headed Bronsons with more bravado than battle skills. Just leave us alone, said LaShawn. We have somewhere to go. Just leave us alone, mimicked the leader. Where are you two squirts going that's so important? There's nothing to do in this town but fuck, fight, and drink your weight in beer. There's nothing to do in this town but fuck, fight, and drink your weight in booze. It may be a surprise to you, Clement, but some of us have lives. We're off to the temple to train with Master Shui. LaShawn was doing all the talking for the two as usual. He was a tiny fellow, but he had learned to hold his own. After all, in Bronson territory, his stature made him a target, and he knew the laws of the land. If you didn't learn to defend yourself, you were dead. That is why they trained under Master Shui, the old monk no one dared to cross. You think that old fool can protect you? He hasn't been to the battle since the 20-year Trifact War, chimed in Dustin. He's more washed up than my first training gi. Next was Jorfan. Don't tell me you believe those old war stories, he scoffed. The crew was antagonistic, rage baiters. They were determined to get a rise out of the young monks one way or another. LaShawn was loyal to a fault, so it was working to a degree. Believe what you want, said Drayton. We have somewhere to be. His strides commenced. The two were on their way. Where do you think you two are going? I'm not done with you. You leave when I allow it. Clement was forceful. With a fistful of fabric, he yanked Drayton back by his collar, forcing him to the ground. Now you've done it, barked LaShawn from his battle stance. With anger in his eyes and pride in his soul, he Spartan kicked Clement away from Drayton and back towards his cronies. Oh, you want to fight? I don't want to, but it seems that's how it has to be. I'm not going to sit back and let you bully me or my friend. You heard him, boys. Let's go to war and put these scrubs in their place. The look on Clement's face was one of ecstasy, a sinister grin with evil intentions. A sinister grin with evil intentions connecting his cheekbones, a lust for blood occupying his irises, a subtle tone of dehumanization hollowing his pupils. Get rid of the two in that sentence. A subtle tone of dehumanization hollowing his pupils. With violence as his volition, the scuffle was inevitable. After all, when we look for things long enough, we always find them. Drayton got back on his feet quickly, but it was too late. Jorfan and LaShawn were already swinging fists at one another. At first, the fight was even. Put a comma in here. At first, the fight was even. Then LaShawn did what he did best. Adapted. Jorfan had a bad habit of dropping his guard for too long when he threw his favorite right hook, and LaShawn read his movements like a book. He countered with a right uppercut that not only shook his confidence, but rattled his brain, forcing him to stagger backwards. Clement couldn't stand for such an outcome. With a smooth gesture to Dustin, his scheme began. Just when LaShawn was about to deliver the finishing blow, Clement cracked on the base of his spine. His weapon of choice? A random plank of wood used for house repairs, 2 inches thick. When Drayton noticed the ambush was coming, he screamed, LaShawn! But just as he lunged forward to provide reinforcements, Dustin dragged him back with a rear naked chokehold. Where do you think you're going, bud? You're busy with me. And the brutality continued. Clement started stomping in LaShawn's ribcage, while Jorfan collected himself. Are you just going to stand there, or are you going to join in on the fun? Jorfan dropped his right hand from his jaw and followed his leader's example. This had always been their plan, to jump them into submission. Drayton soon found it difficult to breathe. Dustin was squeezing to his heart's content, cutting off his airway and the blood circulation to his brain. With blackening vision and tears in his eyes, Drayton's spirit started to collapse. But then something magical happened. As Drayton thought about his friend's pain, thought about the cruelty laced in the situation, a ball of energy began to swell in his chest, igniting like a raging fire. Enough! The ground beneath began to shake. They had never experienced an earthquake before. So everyone was startled. They had never experienced an earthquake before. Everyone was startled. So much so that Dustin loosened his grip. Drayton was too focused to waste the opportunity. Within a fraction of a second, he thrust his elbow into Dustin's core. Oof, he grunted as he let go. You know what I hate about guys like you? The magnitude of the... You know what I hate about guys like you? The magnitude of the quake, as well as his tone, increased with every step Drayton took. You rely on cheap tricks. The seriousness in his eyes was deafening. Even if they had a rebuttal, his assailants were too afraid to speak. You wanted a fight, right? How about I give you a burial instead? With With one swift motion, Drayton stomped the ground, forcing a crack to seek Dustin's feet. A crater formed the moment it reached his body, 20 feet deep and wide enough to fit 5 men. Clement and Jorfan stood motionless, stagnant like statues freshly carved from the sculptor's chisel. His sheer presence is sending chills up my spine, thought Clement. And in the next second, Drayton turned his foot as if it were a key. With a shriek, Jorfan squeaked. He just closed the crater. With a shriek, Jorfan squeaked. He just closed the crater. We gotta get out of here. This guy's a freak. Before Drayton could react, LaShawn was at his side. LaShawn was at his side, with a hand on his shoulder. Thanks for protecting me. I think we've had it. Thanks for protecting me. I think they've had enough. Let's go to the dojo. And that is the ending of chapter 4. So, as you can see, this is a template. Like, I have a page of my other books listed here. And yeah, that is the book so far. Next episode, we will continue with chapter 4. We may edit chapter 3 a little bit. As you could see, there was things that could be changed, possibly, if we decide to. So, until next time, where we will continue the writing process and we will write chapter 4, at least in some capacity, and we will continue building out this book. I typically write my books pretty fast, relatively. I like to kind of lock in once I decide to get things done. So we will just make consistent progress until the book is finished, and I will show you guys the entire journey along the way. But this has been Aaron Allegory. Thank you for spending your time with me. If you did enjoy the video, please do leave a like, subscribe. It does help the channel grow. It does help the channel reach more writers. This way we can all learn and grow together. But I hope you all have a great day.